Welcome back to our channel, soap fans. It is a beautiful day to dive deep into the scandalous and heartbreaking world of Los Angeles fashion. Grab your favorite beverage and settle in, because the drama on the bold and the beautiful has just reached a terrifying, life-altering climax that will leave you absolutely speechless. The fashion world of Los Angeles is no stranger to scandal, but the recent corporate war between Logan Creations and Forrester Creations has transcended mere business. It has become a brutal, unforgiving battlefield that is claiming casualties in the most devastating ways imaginable. At the very center of this catastrophic fallout is Katie Logan. She orchestrated the corporate coup of the decade by poaching Hope Logan Spencer and launching the highly successful Hope by Logan brand. However, the price of this victory has proven to be unimaginably high, stripping away everything she holds dear and pushing her physical limits to the absolute breaking point. For days, Katie has been carrying the crushing weight of a fractured family and an escalating blood feud. The psychological torment began when her own sister, Brooke Logan Forrester, unleashed a vicious verbal assault upon her. In a fit of maternal rage over Hope's defection, Brooke did the unthinkable. She officially disowned Katie, declaring her public enemy #1 and permanently shattering the legendary Logan sisterhood. The echoes of Brooke's hateful, unforgiving words have been haunting Katie, acting as a relentless poison to her already fragile state of mind. Desperate to stop the bleeding and salvage what was left of her family, Katie sought mercy from Eric Forrester. She arrived at the Forrester mansion, pleading for an end to the family feud and begging for forgiveness regarding her son's recent actions. But Eric, harboring deep resentment over Katie's corporate maneuvers, remained rigidly unforgiving. He offered her nothing but cold silence and a harsh dismissal, completely ignoring his own history of demanding secrecy. Katie was left entirely isolated, exiled by her sister and rejected by the patriarch of the family she once called her own. Yet, the ultimate breaking point was not the loss of her sister or the wrath of the Forresters. It was the horrifying news regarding her beloved son, Will Spencer. The tension between the younger generation had exploded into physical violence at the Bikini Bar. Manipulated by R.J. Forrester's calculated dodge, Will threw a punch that accidentally struck Eric Forrester directly in the face. The resulting chaos led to the unthinkable. Will Spencer, the golden heir to the Spencer publishing empire, was arrested for assault, creating an apocalyptic public relations nightmare and a profound personal tragedy for Katie. This brings us to the grim, sterile environment of the Los Angeles Police Department precinct. Katie arrives, her usually impeccable composure entirely shattered. The stark contrast between the glamorous, sparkling world of high fashion and the cold, unforgiving reality of a police station is jarring. The harsh fluorescent lights buzz overhead, casting a sickly pallor over Katie's face. She is a mother desperately trying to save her son from a legal system that does not care about his last name, his family's wealth, or the corporate espionage that drove him to this dark place. As Katie paces the hard tile floor of the precinct, the physical toll of the recent days begins to manifest in terrifying ways. Longtime fans of the bold and the beautiful know all too well the tragic and delicate history of Katie's health. She is living with a transplanted heart, the heart of her late brother, Storm Logan, who sacrificed himself so she could live. This heart has sustained her through many trials, but it is not invincible. The immense, compounding stress of Brooke's disownment, Eric's rejection, and Will's arrest is acting as a massive, overwhelming shock to her cardiovascular system. Suddenly, the heavy metal doors of the holding area swing open. The sound of clinking chains echoes through the quiet precinct, sending a shiver down Katie's spine. She freezes, her breath catching in her throat. Emerging from the corridor is Will, flanked by 2 uniformed police officers. His hands are bound in heavy metal handcuffs. The visual impact of seeing her son her pride and joy, a young man who was supposed to inherit an empire reduced to a common criminal, is a blow more devastating than any physical strike could ever be. Will's face is bruised and battered from the brawl, but it is the look of utter defeat, regret, and terror in his eyes that pierces Katie's soul. The realization of what this corporate war has cost them crashes over Katie like a suffocating tidal wave. She realizes that her relentless ambition, her demands for corporate secrecy, and her blind drive to elevate Logan Creations have inadvertently destroyed her son's life. If she had never poached Hope, if she had never ignited this war with Ridge and Steffy, Will would still be happy with Electra Forrester. Instead, he is in shackles facing a ruined future. The guilt is a physical, unbearable force pressing down on her chest. It is in this exact, agonizing moment that Katie's body finally surrenders to the trauma. A sudden, excruciating pain rips through her chest, sharp and merciless. It is a massive cardiac event, a direct rebellion of her transplanted heart against the insurmountable emotional agony she is enduring. The pressure from Brooke's abandonment and Will's violence has simply become too much for her fragile heart to bear. Katie gasps, her hands flying to her chest as she struggles to draw breath. The world around her begins to blur, the harsh lights of the precinct spinning wildly out of control. She tries to call out to Will, wanting to comfort him one last time, but her voice fails her, reducing her desperate plea to a fragile, breathless whisper. Her knees buckle beneath her. In terrifying slow motion, Katie Logan collapses, hitting the cold, unforgiving floor of the police station. The vibrant, powerful CEO of Logan Creations is reduced to a fragile, dying woman, her life force rapidly slipping away right in front of the son she came to save. The tragedy of the moment is absolute, a heartbreaking culmination of secrets, lies, and family betrayal. The reaction from Will is immediate and utterly gut-wrenching. The sight of his mother collapsing sends a jolt of pure, unadulterated terror through his veins. "Mom!" he screams, a raw, primal sound of absolute despair that tears through the precinct and chills the blood of everyone present. He violently lunges forward, desperate to reach her, to hold her, to somehow transfer his own youth and strength into her failing body. But the heavy handcuffs and the strong, unyielding grip of the police officers hold him back, keeping him inches away from the woman who gave him life. Will struggles with the ferocity of a wild animal trapped in a cage. The metal cuffs bite deeply into his wrists, drawing blood, but he does not feel the physical pain. He only feels the agonizing horror of watching his mother die. He thrashes against the officers, screaming for someone, anyone, to help her. The profound, crushing realization that his own violent outburst, his inability to control his temper, and his subsequent arrest triggered this medical tragedy threatens to shatter his sanity completely. He is drowning in a sea of guilt and helplessness. Chaos erupts within the station. Officers shout for paramedics as they force a thrashing, sobbing Will away from the scene to clear the area for medical personnel. He is dragged backward down the corridor, his eyes locked on Katie's motionless form on the floor. Every inch they pull him away feels like a physical tearing of his soul. His agonizing screams echo off the concrete walls, a haunting soundtrack to a family's ultimate destruction. The image of his mother lying unconscious on the precinct floor will be forever burned into his memory. Miles away, the news of the tragedy reaches the one man who possesses the power, the wealth, and the ruthlessness to burn the entire city to the ground, Bill Spencer. Dollar Bill receives the frantic phone call, and in an instant the triumphant, gloating corporate titan vanishes. He is replaced by a desperate, terrified man whose entire world revolves around the woman he has loved, lost, and loved again. The Spencer patriarch drops everything, his mind racing with a singular, panicked focus as he rushes to the hospital. When Bill arrives at the intensive care unit, the reality of the situation hits him with the force of a runaway freight train. He sees Katie through the glass, surrounded by a chaotic symphony of beeping monitors, rushing doctors, and a labyrinth of tubes and wires. She is pale, fragile, and unresponsive. Her life is literally hanging by the thinnest of threads, her transplanted heart struggling to find its rhythm. The sight of his beloved Katie in such a perilous state breaks something fundamental within Bill Spencer, stripping away his armor and leaving only raw emotion. As the initial shock subsides, a dark, apocalyptic rage begins to boil within Bill's blood. He knows exactly who is responsible for pushing Katie to this breaking point. It was not just a random medical failure, it was a targeted, systematic destruction of her spirit. He blames Brooke Logan for her vicious, unforgiving disownment that broke Katie's heart before it physically stopped. He blames Eric Forrester for his cold, hypocritical rejection when Katie begged for peace. He blames Ridge Forrester for declaring an all-out war. And he blames R.J. Forrester for manipulating his son and triggering the arrest that served as the final, fatal blow. Standing outside the ICU, Bill Spencer makes a chilling, irrevocable vow. His eyes, dark and devoid of mercy, lock onto the horizon. He swears to the heavens that if Katie Logan does not survive this ordeal, he will unleash a hellfire upon the Forrester family unlike anything they have ever seen. He will not just defeat them in the boardroom. He will raze their entire legacy to the ground. He vows to bankrupt Eric, destroy Ridge, expose RJ to the world, and make Brooke suffer a pain worse than death for turning her back on her own flesh and blood in her hour of need. The feud between the Spencers and the Forresters has officially crossed the point of no return. This is no longer a petty squabble over fashion lines, runway models, or stolen diamonds. This is a blood war. The corporate rivalry has morphed into a fight for survival fueled by vengeance, grief, and unyielding hatred. The battle lines are drawn not in fabric, but in the fragile beats of a failing heart. The legal and corporate battles ahead will be merciless, with Bill Spencer acting as the ultimate executioner. The ripple effects of this tragedy will be catastrophic across Los Angeles. How will Brooke live with herself when she realizes that her cruel, vindictive disownment may be the last conversation she ever has with her sister? The guilt should consume her entirely. How will Electra Forrester reconcile her alignment with RJ when she learns that Will's descent into violence was fueled by a desperate desire to protect his family, a family now shattered by a medical emergency? The guilt and regret will spread like a virus through the glamorous mansions of the city, leaving no character untouched. As we wait with bated breath, the entire landscape of the bold and the beautiful hangs in the balance. Katie Logan is fighting the hardest battle of her life, a battle against her own failing heart. Will Spencer rots in a holding cell, consumed by a guilt that could permanently destroy his mind. And standing at the gates of hell is Bill Spencer, a man with unlimited resources and zero restraint, ready to unleash a war of absolute annihilation. Keep your eyes glued to the screen, because the drama is only just beginning, and the Forrester and Spencer families will never be the same again.